Chelsea are back to their favorite market, the Brighton market. Chelsea, according to Fabrizio Romano, have just agreed a deal with Brighton, £50+ million for the signing of Joao Pedro. Guys, let's jump right into it. 5 things that Joao Pedro adds to Chelsea Football Club. Number 1, I think it's obvious. Joao Pedro, is going to solve the obvious left wing problem at Chelsea. The likes of Jadon Sancho could not conclude a deal with Chelsea Football Club. Even that wing has been, in my opinion, one of the weaker points in Chelsea's attack. Chelsea has boosted their central forward by adding the likes of Liam Delap to already existing Nicholas Jackson. So the left wing appears to be the weaker point in Chelsea's attack. And the inclusion of Joao Pedro, who everybody can see is a very flexible, very utility kind of player. It's a player that when there is injuries or when you want to rest players can even play centrally, but most of his actions can also come from the left wing. So it's an obvious strengthening of Chelsea's attack. Chelsea is doing amazing things. Giovanni Coenda has been brought in from Sporting Lisbon. Gittens has been brought in from Dortmund. And now we are hearing that, Joao Pedro from Brighton. I think this is a guy that, he has just done 2 seasons in the Premier League. And last season he scored 10 goals in the Premier League. The season before he scored 9 goals. And you can see this is a guy that is just 23 years of age. Already has 2 years of Premier League experience. I feel this is a very big deal. So the first thing that he brings is that he solves a much needed problem in Chelsea's attack, which is boosting the left side. We all know what is going on with Mykhailo Mudryk currently. So you see, it's a very good addition on that note. The second thing it brings is the much needed intensity. This is a player that can run long distance, going deep to get the ball and push forward. And this, I feel, that's the kind of profile that Enzo Maresca is looking to get. When looking at the likes of getting Jadon Sancho on loan, looking at the likes of even Neto, looking at the likes of even Mykhailo Mudryk, he wants players that can drop deep a little bit and have a lot of distance to take on the right back of the opposition. And I feel Joao Pedro actually does that. Joao Pedro does that, and he does that in a very nice way. Yes, I know you can say there are a lot of issues about his consistency, about his output sometimes, but I feel you cannot deny the fact that this guy is promising, that this guy has the obvious talent, and this guy at 23 years, I feel you have to just be patient with some players because it takes time for some players to reach the peak. And I feel under Enzo Maresca, under this exciting young Chelsea squad, it looks like Joao Pedro is going to be something amazing. The third thing Joao Pedro brings to Chelsea is the obvious link play. I feel there will be a lot of rotations in Chelsea's lineup this season in terms of not rotations as in starting 11, but rotations as in play rotations, in the sense of Nicolas Jackson coming to the side, Delap coming to the left-hand side, which he can do when he runs down the channels. Joao Pedro moving in, a lot of attacking dynamics coming into this Chelsea squad going from next season. Even me, as a Man United fan, I'm beginning to wonder, what is Enzo Maresca, what is Todd Boehly trying to build here? But this is an exciting team, not just of young players, but of young players with the right amount of intensity, with the right amount of flexibility, with the right amount of variability. And I think it's going to be very, very good for Chelsea Football Club. So let's go right into the fourth thing that Joao Pedro brings, is that Joao Pedro brings goals. I think I said it, 9 goals first season, 10 goals second season. And one thing about Joao Pedro is he's a crunch player, a crunch player for a crunch time. Apart from the obvious finesse, apart from the obvious goals, I just said 19 goals in 2 seasons, which might say, he's small, but this is a player that scores goals when it matters. I feel in the Premier League, that could just be the game changer. He has that knack for scoring goals, not just goals normally, but also goals when it matters. And I feel it's going to be a very, very good thing for Chelsea Football Club. An extra attachment of what he brings is that not just goals alone, but it's also a very good set piece expertise. You're going to the Champions League. You're going to have a lot of games for Chelsea Football Club this season as at last season. I know sometimes, you can just, maybe a free kick, maybe a penalty could be given to Joao Pedro. Maybe you are resting the likes of, Kopama, and he's someone that can actually actually step up and do that. I feel Chelsea is really doing a lot of things in their squad this season, and I think it's going to be very, very amazing to see. The fifth and the final is, I don't even know what Chelsea is going to do with the amount of attackers they are buying. But what we can see, as I said earlier, is the variability. What we can see is the fact that this team is going to be well packed. And I like the way they are doing it, even though I have some reservations, but I like the way they are doing it in terms of getting their signings in quickly, to come and meet them in the US for the Club World Cup. And I feel it's a good deal. So the fifth and final thing that he brings is that this guy can play everywhere in the front line. This guy gives the Aneka vibe. This guy gives, in fact, as a Man United fan, I see a little bit of Kua, in him, the profile, in terms of that dynamism, that ability, that finesse, that the way he plays, there's a little bit of rhythm, the samba, a little bit in it. And I think this guy will bring a lot of creativity, a lot of, options, a lot of ideas in the final third, and I feel it helps Chelsea to score more goals. It helps Chelsea to have a larger squad, a larger, more effective squad for the Champions League, for the Premier League, and for that cup competition. So, guys, this is my opinion on the 5 things that Joao Pedro brings to Chelsea Football Club. What are your opinions about the signing? 50 plus million, we know. I told someone today that it's impossible for Chelsea to buy that guy less than 50 million. And you can see they got him for 50 million plus. We know Brighton market is one of the most expensive markets in the Premier League. But if you want the player, you pay the money and you get the player. So, guys, drop your opinions on this deal that Fabrizio just broke. Joao Pedro to Chelsea Football Club. Let's see your opinions. What do you think about the signing? Till we see you next time. Bye.